Hey everybody, Wayne here. Today we're going to look at With It or On It, the Tactical Ancients game from Hollandspiele. I want to look at basic tutorial style, look at what the units are, look at the different phases during the sequence of play, and then kind of how to play the game. It's a fairly simple game. The rulebook is 7 or 8 pages, so there's not a ton to go over, but I'll just kind of put this video out there so that way give everyone an idea how the game plays and what it's like. Hollandspiele themselves did release several videos, so if you want to see like little shorter videos on different parts of the game, you can check those out as well. I just figured I'd do kind of one big one as I like to do. So let's dive right in. So the units in this game, it is like I said, it's a tactical ancients game. The units are going to be these Greek and Persian units. The artwork is all the same on them, as you can see, the different styles of units. If you're not familiar with the Shields and Swords system, this is Shields and Swords Ancients, but it is derived from the original Shield and Sword system. Take a look in here at these units. In the top left, you'll see what type of unit it is. HO is Hoplite, LI Light Infantry, LH Light Horse, HI Heavy Infantry. And then in the top right is the combat class. You can see there's not a lot on the front or the back of the counter, honestly. Like I said, it is a pretty simple game to grasp. There's not a lot of moving parts to it. So the combat class is going to help you when you're rolling for damage and seeing if you cause eliminations or exhaustions. That's what's going to influence that on the combat results table. You can see a star here. That means that unit is a leader, which has special rules for being a leader. And now what you'll do is, so you'll see them when you have them on the board originally. So when you set them up, you actually do not see the backside. It's like Fog of War. Even if your own units, you'll actually have to mix them up. You can look at them initially when you first draw them from the cup, but then once you put them on the board, you can mix them up and then you place them as is. So you never know exactly where the weak spots in your line are going to be. What I mean by that is, start flipping these units over. And for the record, the leader here, he would start off like this. So you wouldn't even necessarily know that that's where the leader is. Flip them over. So these are the back sides of the counters. Now, if a unit suffers an exhaustion, like most games, you flip them over, one line, right? Which means if he suffers one more exhaustion, he's eliminated. Well, and that applies to leaders as well. One exhaustion flips him to the star side, one more exhaustion eliminates him. But you can see the Slight Infantry here has 2 white bands. That means that unit is brittle. So if he is on his front side, he suffers an exhaustion result, you flip him over. As soon as you see that he's brittle, he's automatically eliminated from the game. And what happens if you have an eliminated unit is you can create a route check. So anytime you eliminate a unit, whichever kind of unit it is, when it's part of a wing, once it's eliminated, you do a route check. And I'll explain those. A route check is a way to check a wing's integrity, basically. So what that means is when a unit is eliminated, you check to see that they still have meet certain requirements. If they don't, any units that are out of those requirements will be routed and removed from the game. Let me explain. So say right now you have this first hoplite right up here. Say he had suffered a exhaustion result and then he suffered another one. So he's eliminated from the game. You would do a route check. As soon as he's eliminated, you would do a route check on the remaining units. What that is you just check each unit, and it has to be adjacent to 2 other units from the same wing. Or it has to be adjacent to a unit that itself is adjacent to 2 other units from the same wing. So what I mean by that is you can see this hoplite here on his own. He's only adjacent to 1 unit. So you might say, oh, well, he's eliminated. Well, no, because he's adjacent to this unit, which does have 2. Now, say my wing had looked like this. And he was eliminated here in the middle. So we go ahead and we do a route check now. He is not adjacent to 2 units, and the unit he is adjacent to is also not adjacent to 2 units. So they'd both be eliminated. And then same thing here, they'd both be eliminated. Now that's a worst case scenario. That usually doesn't happen in battles, but it could happen. And that shows you the importance of maintaining integrity of your line which obviously we're talking about this Ancients warfare, having, phalanxes, units grouped together was really important to them. And when you do a route check, it does apply to all your wings. So as you noticed, obviously there's different colors. When we looked at the units, you can see they have different colors. Say we had had, these guys all lined up nice. And say we'd had a bunch of the orange ones. Just eliminating a pink unit here, we would still do a route check on whatever orange wing, say red wing, blue wing, whatever other wings are out on our side. We check every unit. But as you saw, it's really easy to check it. So it only takes a second to really look and see. Basically, you're looking for, do you have 1 or 2 units that are stranded by themselves, or are they grouped together still? Now, the core of the game are these commands. It's command phase, giving commands. That's how you activate and move your different wings. There are different commands in the game, and I'll explain each of them here. So first off, this is called the initiative marker. When you hold the initiative marker, you're able to actually do basically 2 turns in a row. You would do a turn using using the command markers here. And then at the end of it, you'd have an initiative phase. At the end of the turn, you have an initiative phase. You can go ahead and use your initiative marker, which then you'd hand that to your opponent, because then they would have initiative, and you get to do another turn. So how it works during a sequence of plays, you start off, you have your command phase, and boop. All right, command phase is, let's go ahead and talk about, okay, I don't want to do the bonus yet. All right. So there's only a few commands in the game, and some of them you cannot do at the same time. It's very limited by what your counters look like. What I mean by that is, so this is combat. Combat phase, the spear and shield here. If you flip it over, that's move. If you notice, because they're on opposite sides, you cannot do a move and a combat in the same turn. Because what you do is you're able to give 2 commands to each wing, or you can modify it with a bonus or a strategist command. So we have movement, we have combat, we have rally, which when you have exhausted units, if you rally, you roll a die and you have a chance to flip them back over to fresh status. And then skirmish. Skirmish replaces any sort of like long range fire, instead of just having archers, which they do have in the medieval game. In this game, there's no separate archers. Instead, you have skirmish, which will allow one wing to quote-unquote skirmish with the other wing and possibly cause exhaustion results. Now, any of these commands that you do, and like I said, you can do 2 commands per wing per turn, can be modified by playing either the bonus or strategist. What that does, bonus modifies one command and makes it stronger. So say you do combat with bonus, right? So bonus combat means you actually get a -1 modifier, which is good, to all your rolls for that combat. Or if you do bonus move, you get to do a regular movement, and then you get to do a shortened movement after that. Or if you do bonus skirmish, you get to do 2 skirmish phases right in a row. And then strategist, what that does is that allows you to apply whatever command you did to all of your wings. So say you have, instead of just 1 red wing, say you have 3 wings out there. And you're like, I want everyone to get close. I want everyone to move. You could do strategist and move. So every one of your wings is going to get a movement turn. A movement command. However, that does lower your rally limit, which, if you look over here, depending on the scenario, you have a certain set rally limit here, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once your rally limit gets to 0, you lose. And usually that happens through using the strategist commands, which lowers it each time. And then anytime a leader is killed, you also lose a rally limit. All right, now I'm going to run down each of the phases and just show you how they work in action. So, starting off, you have your command phase, like I said, which will give commands to your wings. And then you go into the action phases, which then you go down and you do skirmish phase, rally phase, move phase, combat phase, and then it moves on to victory, and then initiative, and then starts to turn over, or the next turn, depending on if he used initiative or not. So starting off, giving commands. Say it's blue's turn here, the blue wing versus the red, and we're gonna go ahead and we want to do a skirmish. I'm just gonna do the one skirmish. Remember, if I did bonus, it's bonus skirmish, you do 2 in a row. I'm just gonna do one skirmish commands. So I'm gonna play the skirmish command on the blue wing here. And what that allows him to do is he gets to do a skirmish against red. I might as well do the bonus, why not? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to just give one command unless that's all you can do. Usually you're gonna take advantage of the fact that you can give 2 commands per turn. So bonus skirmish. Now a skirmish command has a skirmish phase. And what that, like I said before, that allows you to do kind of a range combat against the other wing. What that means is you roll 1d8, and that's where all the combat and all your rolls are derived from. Use a 1d8. You have a skirmish rating that's in the book for each battle scenario. So say the Battle of Marathon, I believe it's +3 for the Persians. Then the Greeks have like a +1 or maybe 0. So every side has a different skirmish. Here it is. I'll show you guys here so you can see what I'm talking about. Whoop. So see Marathon, see Persian player there. Skirmish factor is 3. And actually the Greek player has 0, so they cannot even skirmish. So skirmish factor of 3 for the Persians. So what that means is you just add 3 to your 1d8 die roll. And then if you did, so you roll a 1d8, you add whatever your skirmish factor is. And if you get a 8 or higher, there's a successful skirmish. Now, each wing, and this is where it starts to get a little more complicated. Again, it's not really that complicated, but you just, as you read the rules, you play it a couple times, you get more familiar with it. It's pretty simple. Every wing has a skirmish zone extending 3 squares in front of it. If the opposing wing is within that skirmish zone, every hit with a skirmish, so remember, 1d8 plus the skirmish factor. Say right now I roll, I got an 8. Oh, nice. So 8, which plus 3, so it's over 8. 8 or over, so that's a hit. Now what you do on each skirmish for a hit you get is, if they're outside that skirmish zone, so right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so red is outside of it. There'd be 1 unit, and it's the red player who controls the red, we get to choose. It's exhausted. So I might say, okay, this hoplite here, he's going to take that hit. All right, he's now flipped over, exhausted. But if I do 2 things. 1, if this red wing had been within the skirmish zone, remember, 1, 2, 3. So if he had been up to here, that 1 hit would actually cause 2 exhaustions. So now as a red player, I'd have to pick, okay, let's do these 2 next to each other. Okay, there we go. Second thing, because we did bonus skirmish, we get to go again. So blue wing gets to roll again. 1d8 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. So that's another hit, or another, maybe it should say success, which is going to be 2 exhaustions because, remember, we're in the skirmish zone right now. Let's do these and this. Oh, and the leader. Revealed the leader there. So you can see the skirmishes can be really powerful if you roll right. That's why when you're, say the red player, which for the most part in these scenarios is going to be the Greek player versus the Persians for the most of the scenarios. The Greek player is going to want to close quickly, take advantage of their hoplites and how strong they are in melee, versus the Persians are okay being at a distance doing skirmishes because that's where they're going to cause the most damage. All right, let's go ahead and do the rally phase here. So, as you can see, we have the 3 units of red that have been exhausted. They're going to do a rally. So it's their turn. They're going to go ahead and rally. So they're going to use bonus rally, which is going to give them a +1 on their rally roll. To rally a unit, you roll a 1d8, and if you get an 8 or higher, the unit's rallied, which means it flips back to its fresh side. If you get a 1, the unit is eliminated. Now their bonuses, like I said, there are pluses, so +1 for a bonus, which we're using our bonus on a rally. +1 if the unit is a hoplite, which these are all hoplites. And then +1 if they're adjacent to a non-exhausted friendly unit, which yes, yes, and yes. So each of these will have a +3. So you roll your 1d8. 1 plus 3 is 4, so no good on him. Second one, 8 plus 3, good. The 8 was good enough by itself. And the final one here, 1d8 plus 3, 5. So did not rally. So only rallied 1 out of the 3 here. Now, when it comes to rallying, what you actually want to do is probably do it when you're a little more safer to do it. What do I mean by that? Is the fact that as the red player, I wouldn't rally right now. I'd probably close with the blue wing, because next turn, the blue wing is just going to do more skirmishing and keep hurting me more. Whereas if I get close enough, if I get adjacent, I'm going to get rid of blue's skirmish zone, in which case I'll be better protected from him. He'll have to rely on his melee, which is not as good against hoplites and as effective. And then I'd probably rally at that point. All right, move phase is simple. When you do your moves, remember, it's on the other side of the combat. The first movement, so moving by itself, any unit can move 4 squares. And then if you do the bonus move, it does a second movement phase, but you can only move 2 squares. The part where movement changes, so if they're just open battle, say they're down here and they're moving, they can move those 4, 2, whatever. Once a unit hits the skirmish zone of another wing, it has to stop. And just remember, the skirmish zone extends 3 squares out. Say I was marching, say I was going from here, and I used the movement with a bonus, 1, 2, even though I have multiple moves left, right? I can't, because I hit the 1, 2, 3 of the skirmish zone. He has to stop here. And now because he gets a second movement, instead of doing 2 like normal though, he's in a skirmish zone, he can only move 1. So to be able to kind of get up there. And they would all move up, each unit at a time, move each unit one at a time. And now next turn, I'd be able to do another movement to move them up the 1. You do, once you're in a skirmish zone, you can only move 1 square per movement, which at that point we'd move adjacent. And you go ahead and you'd be able to have combat starting the next turn. And they would lose their skirmish zone now that there's adjacent to them. All right, now let's go ahead and do combat. Let me go ahead and actually get the camera a little better on target here. All right, there we go. So we're going to do a combat phase here. Show you guys how combat works. So say I've given the bonus combat command, and I'm controlling the red wing here. So it's bonus combat. What that means is going to give them a -1 modifier, which is good during combat. Combat is fairly simple. There's a couple special rules if you're the hoplites and then the horse units. I'm not going to cover them in this video, but it's super simple. It's in the book, and you don't use a whole lot of horse units. It's primarily melee units. So anyway, or I should say foot units. I'm sorry, foot units is what you call the non-horse units. So combat is fairly simple. Let's go ahead and say that we're doing our bonus combat with the red wing here. I want to start attacking the blue wing. Now, because they're hoplites, they have special abilities. One of them is, so this hoplite here in a normal battle, this unit here, say I want to attack him here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to compare their types. So it's a hoplite versus a heavy infantry. And I have a chart here that, oh man, the camera's too zoomed in. Let me show you guys. So you can see the unit type modifier matrix. So you start on the left, attacking unit, and then you have defending unit on the right. So for our example, we're doing a hoplite, and you go over, start on hoplite, find him, and move over to heavy infantry. He gets a -1, which is good. Remember, -1 is good. Well, good for the attacker, bad for the defender. So he'd have a -1 to his roll, starting off with that. Then you start looking at the combat die roll modifiers down here. -1 for a bonus, -1 for a support, and then whatever the UTMM, which was the unit type modifier matrix, was. And then you check combat class as well. Remember that like B, A, letter, no number, letter up in the corner. You look at that. So +1 if the defender's exhausted, +1 if there's flanking, -1 if the attacker wing is half exhausted. So let's go ahead and look down here again. All right, so he wants to attack him. So he has a -1 because it's a hoplite versus a heavy infantry. Support, we're not going to do in this particular attack. Support is if you have a unit, a friendly unit of the same wing that is adjacent to you or is adjacent to the enemy, you can use them as a support. Also, if a unit was flanking them, in which case you can see blue, red, I'm not flanking anybody, but blue, you can see that this light infantry is flanking this hoplite, which has no effect for me as the attacker here, but on their turn, they would possibly get an advantage with him. Say this heavy infantry was attacking the hoplite here, because he would be flanking him, attacking from more than one direction, he'd get a bonus on that. But right now we're just using our hoplite here. He has a -1 for the unit type modifier matrix, -1 because he's doing a bonus combat, so that's a total of -2, no support. It's a total of -2 right now. Now what you would do is, and you can see he's a B. Look on the combat results table here. You roll a 1d8, -2, and you look under B to see what happens. And it's very standard, defender eliminated, defender exhausted, all the way over to exchange, so they both are exhausted, attacker exhausted, that type of thing. Now, what's unique about the hoplite is that he can actually borrow a higher combat class if one is available. What that means is if he can trace a line of fresh units to a higher combat class unit, he can use that combat class instead. So he has a B, there's a fresh unit next to him, and then there's a fresh A back here. So this A hoplite gets to use, or the B here, gets to use that A combat class instead of his own B, which obviously the higher combat class, the better. So, in this example, this hoplite attacking this heavy infantry is 1d8, 8, which is not good, -2 is 6, but instead of looking on B, he's going to look on A. So, right here, A, 6, exchange, which is better. If he had been under B still, he would have been the one exhausted and that's it. Instead, EX means both sides are exhausted. Now, the exhaustion works interesting as well, which is, what's interesting is that as the attacker, if you suffer an exhaustion, which we did, we have to either flip him over or any unit that provided support, which remember, no units provided support, it was just him. Providing the combat class does not count as support. Support would put a -1 on the roll. Now, as a defender, you can use actually any unit that is adjacent. Sorry, I had to double check the rules there. Yep, any unit that is adjacent that's fresh. So even though I was attacking this unit, quote unquote specifically, he can actually divert the exhaustion result and put it on any of these units that are adjacent. One of these three fresh units. Now, because he's in the front lines of combat, I want him to stay strong and stay ready for battle. I'm going to move it to the one behind him. So actually, this light infantry, because he's in the blue wing, suffers a result. Oh, to flip him over, he's brittle. Remember, the 2 lines means he's brittle, which means he's eliminated. Which then you go ahead and you look and you say, okay, we do a route check. Remember, he was eliminated. We check each unit. I can see very quickly, no units of their side are going to route. This is not right now anyway. So even this guy who's on by his own, you'd say, remember, because he's adjacent to this unit, which has at least 2 other units adjacent, he's fine. So no one routes on the blue wing. And then you just continue on down the line. So you'd say that again, this hoplite here is going to attack the heavy infantry. Same exact scenario. He's got the bonus, -1. He's attacking a heavy infantry, so he gets a -1. And he's going to borrow that combat class. So -2 on the A. Or the exact same thing. 8 -2 is 6. Remember, that's they both suffer. Normally, you try to roll low when you're the attacker, by the way. Apparently, I forgot to do that. Flip him over. Oh, eliminated because he was brittle. Route check. Nobody routes. Same thing here. Now, if you look, though, well, actually, he does have this A here, doesn't he? You can see this leader, so he'll take his. Same thing. Give her a roll. 6 -2. Here we go. Something else finally. Under A. 4. Exchange. Oh, just one. If it had been one less. So exchange. So flip that bad boy over. Oh, now he's eliminated because he is brittle. And they're going to go ahead and do it on theirs. Exhausted. Now that eliminated, you should do a route check. Nope, everyone's close to each other. Everyone can has a line of friendly units, 2 next to them, 2 next to them, etc. Last one here is going to attack. Same thing. Hoplite versus heavy infantry. 6, so it's 4, which remember does an exchange on the A because he borrowed his combat class. Go ahead and flip him over. He is brittle, so he is eliminated. And then he's going to go ahead and put his exhaustion on the unit behind him. And there you go. And he checked for the route check because he was eliminated. Yep, because again, even though it looks like they're out in the middle of nowhere, you can trace a line here. He is adjacent to this unit, which this unit has 2 friendly units adjacent to it, so they're just fine. And that's how you conduct combat. So after those action phases, you go do the victory phase, which where the opposing player, so say I was Red's turn right now, the blue player would look to see if they meet the victory requirements on the scenario. If not, the game continues on, goes the initiative phase, which is where, remember, if you are holding the initiative marker, you can say, yep, I'm going to use it, which you then give it to your opponent. And then you go ahead and do another turn, or you can hang on to it. Some scenarios have situations where if you hold the initiative marker, your units are actually stronger, or you can do additional commands, things like that. So I believe it's stronger is what I meant to say. So sometimes you might want to hang on to that and never use it. Just depends. I hope that explained the game. I ran through it kind of quick here, but I think I covered everything in the sequence of play. It's pretty simple. Maybe it seems a little more complicated as I explained it, especially when you start thinking, like, what about this thing with hoplites and they're borrowing command classes, or they're doing different things with how they attack. It's really not complicated. You're going to pick your units. You're going to be moving them up, engaging them. You're going to be rolling this 1d8 a whole lot. You're going to be checking unit types on that unit type modifier matrix, looking at combat DRMs, either adding or subtracting them from your roll. Because you're going to have cases where you might have light infantry attacking hoplites, in which case they're going to get a +2, which remember, pluses are bad. Higher is bad when you're an attacker. So light infantry attacking hoplites, they're going to struggle. You want to stack modifiers if you can, maybe get flanking bonuses, use, bonus combats, you get that extra -1, things like that. Rolling, applying results, checking for route, and you just continue on until you have a winner. Personally, I really enjoy this game. I played quite a few battles already. I just got the game the other day. I just did an unboxing video. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out. But I've been playing battles every day, every couple days. I try to get a battle in, at least one battle. I could be able to play a couple battles a night because they play pretty quick. And that's what I like. I love great battles of history, but those battles take forever to set up, take forever to play, take forever to tear down. This I can set up and play. I'd still be doing I can almost finish a game and I'd still be doing setup on that. So I really like it. Enjoy what you get with it. Yes, there's, you're losing a little bit of maybe detail, maybe with some of the combats. You're losing a little bit of detail with, looking at the units, because you have, every unit has this same black silhouette, whether it is Greek, Persian, and then within the Greek, is it Athenian, is it Spartan? Well, it doesn't matter. That's what you get with a hoplite. That's what they look like. Doesn't matter whether it's Spartan or Athenian, they all look exactly the same. Okay, so maybe you lose a little bit with that, versus, like I said, I like to bring up Great Battles of History because that's the main tactical ancient system I play. Yes, you lose a little bit of that detail, but there's still enough here that you're going to enjoy yourself. If you like tactical ancients combat, you're going to enjoy yourself. We're going to get that theme coming through when you're moving your hoplites around in this phalanx and you're being attacked by light infantry and they're not very effective. Maybe they're able to skirmish with you and cause more damage at first, but as soon as you close with them, you're going to start whomping on them. Horses are much more mobile and can move around a lot better than any of the foot units, but you're not very strong, right? You don't have a strong melee or anything like that. So you're not going to be able to cause a ton of damage, even if you do maneuver around behind the enemy. I'm trying to think anything else about the system that I really enjoy. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. I think the best part is that after my first game, I was just rocking and rolling and had very little problems. And each individual battle in the book You're gonna have the Battle of Marathon, things like that. I believe there's 6 battles that comes with the game. Each battle is gonna have some chrome with it that's gonna spice it up a little bit, so you can start off, you learn the base rules, and then you go into these battles and you're gonna have additional rules, additional things, but it's not a whole lot, right? It's not a lot to keep track of. It's more like, hey, in this particular battle, the Greek player has the ability to do what's called the 1,600-yard dash during the Battle of Marathon. So it fits with that historical chrome that allows you to actually bring a little bit to the game too of, hey, now you can move that much farther, that much faster, and spice it up a little bit. So it's not just the base game and that's it. No, each battle has a little bit of tweaks to add rules to make it custom and to really bring the history alive from it. So strong recommendation for me for this one. If you like Ancients games, if you haven't played Great Battles of History, check it out. If you haven't played Great Battles of History, unless you're like, I need super detailed, I need individual artwork, I need all this other stuff, then yeah, just stick with that. But if you want to see something different, see something that is lighter, absolutely. I don't think you should shy away from saying that it is lighter, but is still a lot of fun and still brings history to the table, which I think is the reason we all play these games. So hope you enjoyed this video, and till next time.